Welcome to the Build Your Private Practice podcast, a space for Canadian therapists who want to support others, make an impact, and build a sustainable practice that works for them too. I'm your host, Liane Wood, a registered psychotherapist, group practice owner, and business mentor, and I'm here to help you build a private practice that allows you to keep doing the work you love without burning out. Because the people who need your help the most are counting on you, and you deserve a practice that supports you while you support them. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Build Your Private Practice podcast, a space for Canadian therapists who want to support others, make an impact, and build a sustainable practice that works for them too. I'm your host, Liane Wood, registered psychotherapist, group practice owner, and business mentor, and I'm here to help you build a private practice that allows you to keep doing the work you love without burning out. Because the people who need your help the most are counting on you, and you deserve a practice that supports you while you support them. In the last two episodes of the Culture of Private Practice series, we talked about judgment and about the difference between ethics and discomfort. So today I want to talk about something that sits even deeper: scarcity and the subtle jealousy that can show up in private practice even when we don't want it to. Because if we're honest, most of us didn't enter this profession thinking we'd have to manage feelings about competition. We entered to help. But private practice is also business, and business can activate comparison. I know this because I've felt it. At the beginning of my practice in the first year, I didn't struggle with thinking that there weren't enough clients. That really wasn't my story. I live in a region where demand for therapy is high, and I could see clearly that there were more than enough potential clients. What I struggled with wasn't demand, it was attraction. I knew people needed support. What I didn't know was how to consistently attract them to my practice, how to position myself clearly, how to communicate my value, and how to convert inquiries into bookings, how to market myself without feeling salesy. And in that space of figuring it out, I would sometimes look around and I would see other practices that appeared to be attracting clients effortlessly. Booked solid, waitlist, associates filling quickly, and I remember feeling something that I didn't expect: jealousy. Not dramatic jealousy, not resentment, just a quiet tightening, a subtle internal voice that said, "How are they doing that? Why does it look so easy for them? Am I missing something?" And if I'm being honest, there were moments where it felt unfair. And here's what's interesting: I didn't believe there weren't enough clients. I believed I hadn't yet figured out how to reach them. But jealousy can blur that distinction. When we see someone else succeeding in an area we're struggling in, it's easy to interpret it as they have something I don't. They're taking something I can't access. There's only so much to go around. But that wasn't actually true. There were enough clients. What there wasn't yet was a refined strategy. And that's a very different problem. And that realization changed everything. I started asking myself a different question. Instead of why them, I asked, what are they doing that I haven't learned yet? And that's a powerful shift. Jealousy often isn't about someone else's success, it's information. It's pointing to things like a skill gap, a clarity gap, a confidence gap, a systems gap. And when we misinterpret that as scarcity, we stay stuck. When we interpret it as data, we grow. I began studying what was working, not copying, not criticizing, studying. How were they positioning themselves? How clear was their niche? What did their website communicate? How consistent were they in their visibility, and what systems did they have in place? Curiosity replaced comparison, and curiosity is far more productive. Scarcity in private practice doesn't always sound dramatic. Sometimes it sounds like if they grow their group practice, they'll take all the clients. If someone charges higher rates, it makes the rest of us look bad. If someone scales into courses or supervision, they're monetizing too much. But here's what I've learned after years in private practice. Different models serve different needs, and a therapist who offers private pay at a higher rate is serving a specific population. The therapist who offers sliding scale is serving another population. The therapist who builds a group practice expands access. The therapist who offers supervision strengthens the profession. The therapist who creates a course might reach people who would never have booked therapy. Growth doesn't shrink the profession, it diversifies it. There was a turning point for me, very specifically, and I remember watching a practice in my area grow quickly. They seemed to be everywhere, online, community events, professional referrals. And instead of feeling intimidated, I decided to observe strategically. I looked at their messaging, their branding, their clarity, their positioning, and what I realized was this: they weren't lucky, they were clear. They were clear about who they served, clear about their strengths, clear about their offers, clear about their visibility. And clarity attracts, confusion repels. And at that time, I was still refining clarity. That wasn't scarcity, that was development. When we operate from scarcity internally, it affects how we respond externally. If I had stayed in jealousy, I might have critiqued their rates, questioned their growth, framed their visibility as too much, and told myself stories about their ethics. That is how scarcity leaks into culture. It disguises itself as principle. But when I shifted to curiosity, something else happened. I grew. I refined my messaging. I strengthened my systems. I clarified my niche. I became more visible, and my practice filled, not because someone else shrank, but because I improved. There is a huge difference between competing for slices of a fixed pie and learning how to bake your own. In mental health, especially in Canada, demand is not the problem. Access is, clarity is, system navigation is, marketing discomfort is. The number of people needing therapy far exceeds what any of us can provide. When one therapist grows sustainably, that doesn't reduce access, it often increases it. And when someone builds a group practice, more clients are served. When someone offers supervision, more competent therapists enter the field. And when someone creates educational content, awareness expands. There is room. There is room for you. And there is room for the therapist who's doing it differently than you. Both can exist without threat. If you feel that tightening sense when you see another therapist succeeding, I want to normalize that. It doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you human. But here's the invitation: instead of suppressing it or projecting it, pause and ask, what is this showing me? Is there a skill I need to build? Is there clarity I need to strengthen? Is there a visibility discomfort I need to work through? Is there a system I need to implement? Jealousy becomes useful when it becomes instructional. And once it becomes instructional, it loses its charge. Scarcity says, if they win, I lose. Abundance says, if they win, it proves it's possible. Scarcity critiques, abundance studies. Scarcity compares, abundance collaborates. Scarcity whispers moral superiority, and abundance stays in its lane. That shift is internal first, and then it becomes cultural. If you're early in private practice and watching others grow, I want you to hear this. There are more than enough clients. Your work now isn't to compete, it's to clarify. Clarify who you help, clarify how you help, clarify how you communicate that, and clarify how clients move from inquiry to booking with you. Those are learnable skills. Business skills can be learned. You are not behind, you're building something real. The culture of private practice isn't shaped only by how we treat each other online, it's shaped by how we interpret each other's success. When we allow scarcity to drive our reactions, we become defensive. And when we allow curiosity to drive our growth, we become expansive. In my first year, jealousy could have turned into critique. Instead, it turned into education. And that shift changed my trajectory. There is room for you, and there is room for the therapist whose model looks different than yours. We don't need to shrink each other to succeed. We can build strong, sustainable practices without competing for moral high ground. If this conversation has resonated with you, I'd love it if you would subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow therapist who needs this. Remember, the work you do matters. Keep showing up, keep holding space, and keep building a practice that works for you too. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Build Your Private Practice podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a fellow Canadian therapist who needs this. And remember, the work you do matters. Keep showing up, keep holding space, and keep building a practice that works for you. If you're looking for practical tools or support to grow your practice with more clarity and confidence, head to buildyourprivatepractice.ca. There's lots waiting for you there. I'll see you next time.